Today we are going to talk about some dark manipulation tactics, NLP techniques that could be used in a bad way, or not really techniques, but certain ways all those language patterns and hypnotic techniques can be used. As a big disclaimer before starting, I see a lot of paranoia around the topic of manipulators, narcissists, all of those things. Just because somebody uses one of the things I'm going to say in this video one time doesn't mean it is a manipulator or somebody who wants to destroy your life. Some people just use those things once in a while, which is okay. I think the whole manipulator thing is a spectrum, and we are probably all manipulators to some extent. The downside is when the people start to get non-stop all the time on the really massive end of the spectrum, and they are just constantly using those kind of tricks and techniques non-stop with everyone in their lives. But usually from the narcissists or the manipulators I have seen in my life, they are not aware of being one. They are not aware of what they are doing. Quite often they are even the ones who preach about defending against manipulators. They are the one scared of being manipulated, but they are the one who manipulate the most. The way I see it is more like a mental disease. I don't have any better ways to describe that. From the ones I have personally met, they are never really aware of how much harm they are doing around them. They just think they are helping, or they just don't care about helping or about destroying others. They just think they are doing the right thing, at least for themselves. For example, but your biggest asset to recognize them and to get away of any potential manipulator who might be in your life right now is just to notice if there is one person specifically in your life with whom you just feel drained out and exhausted every time you have been interacting with that person. If it is just one time, okay, chill down, maybe it's not somebody who is toxic or anything. But if it is recurring every time, literally every time, or let's say 8 or 9 times out of 10, when you spend some time with that person, you just feel completely exhausted and drained out and almost like you need a shower or you need to sleep because you're exhausted, then it is just your instincts telling you that you are repressing anger or all the sadness, the anger that would allow you to get that person away. But it's because those emotions are buried, that person has power over you. All this anger you're not letting out, or all the sadness that make you more vulnerable, or the fear that make you more vulnerable, which allows this person to catch you. You're not letting that out, but your gut instincts are trying to tell you, wake the fuck up, and therefore you feel exhausted at the end of the conversation with that manipulator who might be in your life, because you have just been repressing those natural instincts telling you to get the hell away from that person. That being said, the 3 patterns I have noticed that can be really dangerous when somebody is using them constantly with you. For example, the first one is the only way of seeing this. So when somebody is trying to restrict your attention to there is only this way or there is only my way is the only way possible of doing things. Actually, I see some business marketing gurus doing that all the time, where they try to constantly preach that their method is the only thing possible, anything else is impossible to use, or like anything else will just crash and it's not possible. I understand the pressure of having to find one thing that sells, and they try to find the right method, but same thing, it is a spectrum. When somebody is giving advice and saying once in a while, I don't like this, why not? But when somebody is constantly preaching that there can only be his own method, his own way of doing things, and anything else is completely impossible, irrelevant, and just destructive, at some point the person might be toxic and just a manipulator trying to get you under his control. The basic idea of NLP patterns in general is to open up possibilities. The whole thing with the Milton Model back in the early days was to open up your mind, open up your map of the world, your beliefs to new things you may haven't uncovered, new things you may haven't thought about. When somebody is doing the exact reverse, which means he's using all the Sleight of Mouth, the language patterns, all those things which are pretty much neutral in themselves, by themselves, when that person, somebody is using that, trying to restrict your attention to only one thing, only this thing that is the only one to believe into, like some negative religious leaders who might be trying to preach that there can only be his God, or like his way of thinking about religion, anything else is purely false and impossible to prove. When somebody is constantly trying to restrict your attention and your willpower and your ideas to only one very specific thing, thing, it is like an alarm. It is like a ring bell. Just be careful about this person. It might not be a manipulator, but be careful. Just take some distance with that person. Notice what is it exactly that they are communicating. Are they trying to sell anything, or are they trying to get something out of you? Because most of the time is what it comes down to. They are trying to get something out of you, either money or your affection or your talents. If you're a talented person, they might try to use you for your talents, anything like that. The second big technique to be aware of and be careful about is what I call the child frame. So if you watch anything I have done about covert hypnosis, quite often I talk about the framing. How do you set the meta frame? How do you frame your conversations? I always frame my conversations during a coaching session as everything is possible and you can do 100 times more than you think. That's basically my frame of mind. And whatever is the limitation you have, it's going to get done. I'm going to get it done, or like I'm going to help you get rid of that in 1 hour maximum. That's the frame I am implying. It's a frame about opening possibilities. The childish frame is, for example, somebody who might try to reframe everything you say as being just too immature and too childish to even discuss. So whatever you're talking about, you just don't know enough about it. You're just too uneducated. You're just not mature enough to really understand what it is about. And I have seen a lot of people, I just think about it, I have seen so many people like that in the academic field. When you get into university, a lot of those professors, those big names, because they want to have their name on paper as being the person who has been publishing the biggest number of studies, a lot of those guys are just getting an ego like that, and they're just constantly trying to preach that they're so superior to everybody else, that they have figured out everything. And one of the common thing they say is whatever is being invented, they have already invented it 20 years earlier. Even if it is something nobody has seen before, but oh yeah, they have been doing that 20 years before. That is basically what I call the childish frame. It is when somebody, a manipulator, is constantly reframing that anybody around is just too inferior to himself and he knows everything way better, and whatever you say, he will just either ignore you or reframe anything you say as just being, oh, you just don't know what you're talking about. Like, just go study and come back to me. It's okay if once in a while, I understand when somebody is getting really triggered and somebody has non-stop people trying to get his attention. I understand that once in a while you just get rid of people, but when it is, same thing, when it is a constant behavior every day, non-stop with everybody, that's a massive signal, a massive red flag that this person will be only bringing pain in your life. And the last one, very dangerous, number 3, which again is more a principle. It's not a technique itself, it is a principle that can be implied within all the NLP techniques out there, whether it is the Sleight of Mouth, the Milton Model, anything that there is out there. When somebody is explaining, is framing the interaction or the thing they want to sell as, you need that more than I do. Something like, oh, I'm only doing that for you. I'm only a friend. It's only for you. Like, they are trying to sell you the idea that whatever they do, it's only to benefit your own purpose, your own problems, to solve your own problems, but it's not about them. Oh no, I don't do it for myself. I just want to help you. When they are constantly like this, and if in the meantime what you're doing is of some benefit to them in the end, you can just sense that. You can just sense that the person just wants to keep you because of your talents, because of the attention you're giving to them, because you are just admiring them maybe, because you are giving them some admiration, and they just want to get more of that because they are wounded in some way or whatever, but they want to get more of that, so they are just trying to make you do something that in the end will just make you admire them more or will make you spend more time with them, and therefore they just preach the idea, they frame the whole interaction as, oh, it's only for you. Yeah, oh, it's not for me, no, I don't need that, but it's for you, you really need that, you need my help, or you need, if you don't have that, you're going to lose so much, you need that. When they're constantly preaching that you need to do the thing they want you to do, same thing, at some point I like to question, like, what are you going to get out of this specifically? Because I know myself, I don't need that. So what are you trying to get out of this exactly? And if you tell me, oh, nothing, I know it's bullshit. So let's have a clear conversation. What specifically are you talking about right now? But again, the biggest factor here is the feeling of exhaustion. If you're constantly feeling exhausted, abused, constantly drained out whenever you have been interacting with this or that person, just Clarify who is it and what are you feeling at this moment, and notice that when somebody constantly tries to get something out of you without giving anything in return, that is most likely a manipulative relationship that you need to get away from.